Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. A very important topic we're bringing back again due to some popular demand, identity theft, the illusion of privacy, presented by Mr. Andre Lingham, founder and president of the Center for Elder Justice and Education. My name is Jeff Stauffer, Community Relations Director with Elville and Associates, and I'll be moderating today's event. So how this will work today, if you're new to our webinars, and that we have some new attendees, welcome. We're glad you're here, and if you're a returning attendee, welcome back as always. So you as the attendee are currently in listen-only mode. However, if and when you have questions, please note them in the questions panel on the right-hand portion of your screen, and we will take time at the end of the presentation to address all your questions. Your questions really help the presentation, they add value and help others learn, so please don't be shy in posing your questions at any time for Andre. For our professionals on today's webinar, welcome as well. For CFPs, CPAs, and others, you may receive 1.5 continuing education hours for attending. So per my attendance records requirements, please email me your ID number. And for CFPs only, I also must have the last 4 digits of your social security number as soon as possible so I can submit your CE hours for approval. As always, everyone will also receive a post-webinar feedback email right after the presentation. Now, we do ask that you please just take a couple minutes to fill out this very simple survey about the presentation, and we read and value every comment. So here at Elville & Associates, through planning and elder law techniques, our attorneys work every day with families and their loved ones with the ideals of client education, collaboration, and compassion in mind. We're always available for consultations to discuss your family's needs and look forward to being a resource to you in any way at any time. So I have the true pleasure of introducing today's presenter, Mr. Andre Lingham. He is the founder and president for the Center of Elder Justice and Education, and the website for the organization is www.elderjusticeandeducation.org. The Center of Elder Justice and Education was established in 2021 and is a nonprofit organization that promotes elder abuse awareness and education. Its mission is done by virtual and in-person training to senior citizens, the general public, government agencies, police departments, and private institutions. Andre previously served over 30 years in law enforcement and retired from the Howard County Police Department in 2019 to focus full-time on elder abuse awareness and education. While a member of the Howard County Police Department, he served as the Senior Citizen Liaison for 5 years. In 2014, Andre was named Howard County Police Officer of the Year and 2015 American Legion Law Enforcement Officer of the Year for his work educating and protecting seniors. So Andre, it's great to have you back, and thank you for being here today. We appreciate your time, and thank you very much for your service to our community. So I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. Hello to everyone. Today's presentation is titled The Illusion of Privacy. So we're going to talk about identity theft, the different types of identity theft, and some ways that our personal information is made public. Let's get started. So what is identity theft? Identity theft occurs when someone uses another person's personal information to commit fraud and/or other crimes. So some key ID theft statistics. Maryland ranks 23 out of 50 in ID theft complaints in 2021. At one point, we were actually as high as 7 out of in the top 50 of ID theft complaints. So it's gotten better as time has gone on. Federal Trade Commission reported 60 to 69 year age group lost the most in fraud-induced expenses. 9 in 10 ID theft victims had no idea how the information was compromised. People active on social media are more likely to have their personal details stolen. Fewer than 1 in 10 reported the incident to police. What I recommend is if you're ever a victim of identity theft, whether it's a credit card compromise or someone opening new accounts in your name or any type of identity theft, please report it to police. So what information do they want? I call this the big 4: name, address, social security number, and birth date. Your name and address is pretty accessible online. It takes a little harder to possibly get your social security number and birth date, but those are really the key 4 items that these perpetrators need to initiate identity theft. Some other things that they need also or like to have is driver's license number, bank account details, and also credit card information. So what can identity thieves do with your personal information? Anything that you can do, they can do, from buying a car to getting government benefits to opening new accounts, draining existing accounts. Also commit a crime and use your name. Here's a video of a young lady that had her information compromised, and unfortunately, the person that had her information when the person was arrested, she actually used the victim's name, and the victim ended up getting arrested several times related to her identity being stolen.
Every time Stancy Nesby looks in the rearview mirror, she can't help but wonder if she's about to be pulled over.
Everybody needs to put themselves in my shoes and know that this could happen to them.
A 30-year-old single mom with 4 kids who holds 2 jobs working as a nurse's assistant, life was hard enough before her problems with police.
It's made it really hard for me to smile and be the normal person that I felt like I was at first.
It started 4 years ago when Stancy was pulled over for speeding in the Bay Area. She admitted going too fast, but couldn't understand why she was being arrested.
I ended up going to jail that day. They didn't believe anything I was saying.
It turned out Stancy had a warrant for her arrest. The police databases showed she'd been busted for cocaine possession here in San Francisco's seedy Tenderloin district back in 1999, but that she never showed up for court appearances. Stancy had to spend 3 days in jail. The problem, she was innocent. Police later confirmed it when her fingerprints didn't match the real suspect who had used Stancy's name.
I've had nightmares about this.
She says police told her they'd fix the problem, but 2 months later, Stancy was arrested again, this time at her home in Berkeley. Once again, she says when the officers discovered the error, they told her they'd help her clear her name. But 3 months later, Stancy was arrested again in yet another jurisdiction. And it didn't end there. From 2002 to 2004, Stancy was arrested or detained 7 times by 5 police departments. In one instance, hauled off right in front of her children.
The kids were crying, and basically they ended up, throwing me on the ground and sticking their knees in my back.
Every time, she says authorities promised to fix the problem, but didn't.
So unfortunately, with that case, it was only resolved when she sued the police departments and the state's attorney's office. But as you can see, it lingered for several years, and you can only imagine, what she went through just doing day-to-day activities out driving, and a police car pulls up behind her. And that's one of the reasons I really recommend that if you are a victim, at least have it documented with your local police department, so you do have a record of it. So how do they get your personal information? A lot of times this is basically old-fashioned stealing. I know several communities in Howard County where they still have the mail boxes at the end of the driveway or near the house. On several occasions, we made arrests where these thieves were going around after the mail was being delivered and just taking it out of the mailbox before the homeowner could get the mail. Also, when you put the red flag up notifying the postal worker that there's mail in there, they would also go and take the mail out of the mailbox once they saw the red flag up. Also, stealing from your purse or breaking into your car. I really don't recommend leaving anything visible in your car, especially going to different parks or just out and about, because a lot of these crimes are crimes of opportunity where these criminals just happen to see something that's visible, that's valuable, and they'll break your window to get into your car, or a lot of times the cars are left unlocked. Here's a couple of videos of purses being stolen. This one's actually in a grocery store. It only took about 2 seconds and the purse was gone and the owner had no idea. This is what's called sliders. And typically what happens is you'll pull up to get gas. If you have a purse, you'll take your wallet out and get your credit card out. And then you'll put the purse on the passenger seat. In this case, the thieves come up and park right beside the car, get out of their car into the victim's car and steals the purse. As you can see, the victim had no idea that her purse was stolen and she's still pumping gas. One of the keys is make sure you either lock the passenger door or make sure you keep the purse on the driver's side floorboard. Here's another video where these are the two suspects walking in. Looks like a Panera or something, some type of sandwich shop. You see as they sit down right behind the female suspect, there's a purse on the chair. And what she does is places a jacket or something over the purse, and then you'll see her reach under it and take the wallet out of the purse. The interesting part of this video is the owner of the purse is actually facing the purse and had no idea that she was victimized. One of the ways they get your information through spyware hacking, where they either hack into your computer and somehow place spyware, or a pop-up ad will come up on your computer, and a lot of times if you click on it, it can unfortunately put spyware information on your computer. So if you happen to see that, or someone wants you to give them access to your computer and it's not initiated by you, by all means, don't give them access or don't click on any of those pop-up links. This is called phishing, and it's exactly how it sounds. They'll send an email out from a company that looks like it's a legitimate company. In this case, is from PayPal. And what they'll want you to do is they have changes to their service agreement, and any unverified account will be deleted from our system. So what they'll want you to do is go in, click get verified, and put all your personal information in related to your PayPal account. So they'll want your name, your social security number, your log on information, and your password. One of the ways to make sure you see if it's a phishing email, it's typically where it comes from will be an odd address. So like this one at the top is from paypal.co.uk. But legitimate companies will never send you an email requesting you put your log on and password information in there. Here's another phishing email. This is an official, looks like an official IRS logo. And in this case, they sent it out claiming that you were due money back from your taxes. What they'll want you to do is click get started, and of course they'll want all your personal information, specifically social security number and your bank account information, so they can wire you the funds. Again, if you look at where it comes from, the email comes from is IRS Online at ahr@irxt.com. Be careful with social media networks. As I showed before earlier in the presentation, a lot of information is stolen from social networks, blogs, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, different things like that. just, remember that any information that's posted out there, if your account's open, anyone can get and have access to the information. Once it's out there and your information is stolen, it can't be taken back. Also, telephone. And this is key. Never, ever give out any personal information over the phone from someone that you cannot verify that it's a legitimate company. Again, if we just remember that, especially with any telephone solicitation or anything, that will stop a lot of the identity theft and frauds and everything that comes related to that. This is what's called skimming. So if you look at your credit card or debit card, there's a black magnetic strip on the back of it. That's where all your information for the credit card is stored. So what happens in skimming is, say it's an ATM machine. When you go to put your card in, if it's a typical one like this, you'll put it in. But what the thieves will do is put what's called an overlay over where your card goes in. So your card will work normally, and you'll be able to withdraw money or do whatever transaction you're trying to do. But while you're doing that, it's reading the information on the magnetic strip. If you've noticed the past few years, they've when you look at the keypad, the number pad for the ATM machines, it's sort of blocked out the edges and the top. That's because years ago they would put a camera above the ATM, so you would put your card in, use it, they would get the information, but they wouldn't have your PIN number. With the camera, they would actually get you putting in your 4-digit code. So once they recreated a new credit card, they would have your PIN number, which in turn would allow them to drain your bank accounts. These are very small, as you can see in the gentleman's hand. That's how small they are, and the information is collected there and then downloaded on a computer. Here's a case of skimming in Florida, but we've had these happen in Snowden River Parkway, Ellicott City. Pretty much most gas stations in this area have had skimmers on them at one point or another.
When it comes to gas station credit card skimmers, it feels like at least once a week we give you an alert about a new one found somewhere in Florida.
Yeah, at least once a week, and that's because the thieves looking to steal your information, they're getting smarter. As our Clifton French found out, some are even getting into the pumps now with their own keys.
Every time you pay at the pump, you're putting your trust into these machines and the folks who run them. Security stickers give some people peace of mind, but it turns out thieves are able to install the credit card stealing devices using their own keys.
And a lot of these skimmers are Wi-Fi now, so I don't even have to go back to collect them back.
Take these three, for example. Florida Highway Patrol arrested them with a skimmer and several fraudulent credit cards. Court documents show they also had 16 gas pump keys. Many older pumps have a universal key that opens them. Thieves are ordering those online. Some criminals take it a step further. There are reports, even in Hillsborough County, of crooks buying the keys straight from the gas station clerk.
These clerks make the low wages, and sometimes, $400 or $500 for a set of keys, can be very tempting, and then that's what's happening.
Doesn't it need to be opened up and checked first?
And as we showed you last year, you can't always trust those security stickers either. When we approached this clerk about broken seals, he pulled out a roll of new stickers and put them on the pumps without opening them, meaning a skimmer could be inside. That sticker is just giving customers a false sense of security.
So here's an actual skimmer that you can purchase on Amazon for $105. So as you see, it's pretty easy for criminals to get their hands on these skimmers. I remember one case years ago, a waiter had a skimmer at the restaurant that he worked. So when you would go pay he would take your credit card to pay for your meal. And he would swipe it at the business, and also he would swipe it through the skimmer. So every credit card that he had taken, he would download and recreate new credit cards. So this is fine, but the end result is you need credit cards, blank credit cards, and these are also on Amazon. You can purchase for $99 for a 10-pack of credit cards. So You can use these for credit cards, debit cards, or actually business access cards. So there are legitimate reasons, for these to be out there, but criminals use them to recreate blank credit cards. Everywhere you go now, you pretty much see free Wi-Fi hotspot networks, and basically you can hook up to their network and surf the web or check your accounts or do whatever you need to do. You really need to be careful about hooking up to some of these sites and make sure that you verify that they are legitimate sites. Here's a video of a suspect that was heavily involved in this business, and then actually turned his life around and now gives speeches on how to protect yourself.
Inside Terminal 5 at the Los Angeles International Airport, dozens of people are on their computers. Gregory Evans is a former hacker whose resume includes 2 years in federal prison.
We were doing almost $1 million, if not more, a week against some of the biggest corporations in the world.
We set up in a corner of the terminal so that Evans, who now owns a cybersecurity company, could show us just how vulnerable people are to hackers.
I will go and set up a fake Wi-Fi and watch everybody connect to it. And once they connect to it and they start surfing the internet, now what I'll do is just grab all their traffic.
We launched a fake network named LAX Free Wi-Fi. Within minutes, people started connecting to it. Evans then showed us how a hacker can record everything off a computer that joined our network by tracking what I was doing on my laptop.
So if they go to their bank, it'll grab all their banking information. If they go to their Facebook, it'll grab all that, their Twitter accounts. If they're writing love letters, I can grab all of that.
Or, Evans says even worse, if a hacker has enough time, spyware can be installed, which stays with the victim.
You get on the plane, you go to one country, I go to another. But everything that you do, as long as you have that computer, is going to be emailed back to me.
During our experiment, we stumbled across what appeared to be a real hacker at work. Along with our fake network, there was another one called Free Public Wi-Fi. Airport administrators told us T-Mobile is the only authorized Wi-Fi provider.
So you think that there could be a hacker here right now?
That's correct.
Catching and prosecuting a hacker, especially at an airport, is extremely difficult. E.J. Hilbert is a retired FBI agent who specialized in cybercrime.
It's virtually impossible to catch them. Law enforcement's aware of this, and there's always the next piece. You steal the cards, you steal the information, you got to use them somewhere. And that's when you start getting the real investigations going.
Experts say there are a few things you can do to protect.
So some of the safety tips is get a virtual private network, also called a VPN. And a lot of times you can get them through the phone company where you have your service with. This is key. Avoid automatically connecting to Wi-Fi hotspots. If you want to use a business's Wi-Fi hotspot, say you're in Starbucks and the official one may be Starbucks 1. Well, if there's a person, trying to compromise information, they may set up one that says, Starbucks Wi-Fi 2. So if you see, several of them that look pretty much exactly alike, you may want to check with the business to see exactly which one is legitimate. Again, confirm the network name. Also, turn on your firewall. And also, when you're using these free Wi-Fi spots, just minimize accessing where you're required to put your login and password, like your bank account, say your Facebook account, anywhere where you need private logon information to access. Another form of identity theft is medical identity theft, and basically they steal your personal information to fraudulently obtain medical services or equipment. So some little known facts is your medical ID information is 20 to 50 times more valuable than financial data. In 2021, 45 million individuals were affected by healthcare breaches. That's up from 34 million in 2020. So the numbers keep going up. 20% of medical fraud victims experience misdiagnosis and mistreatment. And what happens if erroneous or bad information is attached to your medical records when you're getting treatment, that could affect the treatment that you're getting. 65% of medical ID theft victims paid an average of $13,000 to resolve the crime. And mainly they use it for, again, fraudulent billing and medical services. And they'll just submit, fake bills to Medicare, Medicaid, or whoever is responsible for paying those bills, and they'll reap the benefits from that. So how do you know if your medical ID has been stolen? A lot of times you'll get a bill from medical services that you didn't receive. So make sure whenever you go to the doctors or hospital or get any kind of treatment and they send a statement of what treatment that you got, make sure it aligns up with exactly what you received. A lot of times if you haven't, say, used any of your benefits for a whole year and then you go for an appointment or to get medication, you'll be told that you reached your maximum benefits. Another thing is receiving calls from collection agencies. They'll start calling you for unpaid bills, and as you research it, you'll realize that your information has been compromised. So if you're a victim, make sure you obtain copies of your medical records. Get what's called an accounting of disclosures report. It's basically a credit report for medical services, and you can get that through your medical care provider. Make sure you ask for corrections to your medical records, especially if the information is wrong. Make sure you keep good records and document all correspondence, whoever you talk to, date, time, everything related to your conversation. Whoever made the mistake must correct it. So if, say if it was Aetna and it was erroneously put on your medical file, then they have to have it removed. Make a police report, and you can also file a report with the Federal Trade Commission. Another form of identity theft is tax identity theft. And basically what they do is file taxes with your personal information. And typically what they do, they'll file it early in the year, typically by the 31st of January or the middle of February, because most people don't, submit their taxes that early. So they'll want to be the first ones to get that fraudulent tax return in. A lot of times, if there's a refund, it goes to a checking account or prepaid debit card, which is either used or sold on the open market. Once they have your information, a lot of times it's sold to other thieves on the black market. So if you're a victim, make police report. The IRS has a specific ID theft affidavit, so you would have to fill out that form, send a copy of the police report and IRS form to the IRS, and they would conduct an investigation. Again, keep good correspondence records. One of the fastest growing identity thefts is child identity theft. Social Security number is a top compromise identifier, and unfortunately, a lot of times family members will use their child's information to open up new credit. Say if they have bad credit and they can't get credit extended, they'll take their son or daughter's information and open up new credit. It's more difficult to detect and resolve than adult ID fraud, because if the information is compromised, say if they're 5, 6 years old, a lot of times the thieves will have up until they're 18 to use that information. And then once the person goes to apply for a credit card or student loans, then they realize that there's a credit file open for them with all their information. A lot of times accounts have been closed or they've been open, and credit cards have just been used to the maximum. They haven't paid them, so their credit score is typically 300-400 in the 300-400s. Children are targeted 35 times more often than adults.
Imagine a 5th grader who is already bankrupt, or a 16-year-old in debt for houses and cars. Thieves have a new target, and we learned tonight that 1 in 10 American children is the victim of identity theft. 1 in 10. And as ABC's Pierre Thomas tells us, it can be years before parents realize it.
Olivia McNamara was starting her freshman year at Vanderbilt University, and like so many 18-year-olds, applying for her first credit card. That's when the nightmare started. Olivia's credit applications were rejected twice. someone had stolen her identity when she was 9 years old. They had years to run up $1.5 million in debt.
I can't even describe it. It's just really shocking, and we just had no idea.
The thieves created more than 42 accounts, defaulting on all of them.
They took loans out on boats and houses and everything.
Olivia's still working to clear her credit. It may take her months, if not years, to start fresh. A new report estimates that a staggering 1 in 10 American children are victims with no clue it's happening. Criminals hack home computers looking for tax forms with the social security numbers of children. They've also stolen identities from hospitals, child welfare agencies, even schools.
We see children who have had this crime begin at as early as age, 5 months old, and then it goes on for years.
Thieves stole 11-year-old Brianna's social security number and ran up more than $132,000 in debt, buying a car and a house. Using 8-year-old Bradley's ID, crooks took out 2 student loans and got 5 credit cards. Total damage, $19,200.
So now we're going to look at some of the ways that our personal information is available online and accessible to the general public. We can start with basic online search engines, from Google to Yahoo to any type of search engine. If you put your name in there, a lot of times, like for me, for instance, if you put my name in, you can probably figure out where I live within probably 10 to 15 seconds. So just know that, search engines can, lead people to where you live or, basic personal information. Another way, in Maryland, we have what's called the Maryland Judiciary Case Search. So if you've ever had any interaction with the courts, whether it's criminal, civil, any kind of court pleadings, it's all accessible to the public. So in this case, you would go onto the Maryland Judiciary Case Search, and at the bottom, you would just have to click agree to their rules. The next page would be this. So you can look up civil cases, criminal cases, traffic cases, circuit court, district court, any kind of court-related cases. So say if you can put a name in first and last name. The next thing will happen is this screen will come up. So this is the person that I charged with tree trimming scam. So when I put his name in, George Defabal, all his cases came up. And you can see there's cases Howard County, Silver Spring, Montgomery County. So all the way on the left is the case number. So all you have to do is click on what specific case you're interested in. The next screen that will come up is this one. So on the left, it has the location of the court, the case number, his name, and all his personal information, height, weight, even his full date of birth and his address, his attorney's information. On the right, it will have the state's attorney's information, and then under that is where my information was, whoever the charging officer is. And below that, we'll have the charge and disposition information. So all this is publicly accessible. If you've ever had a traffic citation, it's publicly accessible. Same thing on the left, it kind of tells you, when the citation was issued, where, the defendant. Luckily here, it just gives the month and year that the defendant that received the ticket was born. On the right-hand side, it has the police officer's information and also the charge, which was exceeding posted maximum speed. If you've ever been divorced, that information is in there also. So any kind of court-related filings. If you own a house in Maryland, that information is publicly accessible through the Maryland SDAT, Department of Assessments and Taxation. So for this, you would just basically start here, put whatever county you're interested in getting information on, and then say you want to look up by street address. You put that in, hit continue. So I can search a specific house number, and it would give me the owner's information, or I can just put the street. So in this case, I use myself as an example. I live on Morning Mist Lane. So you don't put lane or drive or anything like that. You just put whatever the street name is without the drive or anything after that. Click on that, and then it goes to, in this case, it gives you everyone that lives on my street. So in my case, I would click on my name or whoever you're interested in getting information on, and this screen would come up. It gives you the owner's address, a mailing address, if it's a principal residence, all information basically related to the ownership of that particular property. What's not showing is it also gives you when the house was purchased, who it was purchased from, and the purchase price. Again, all this information is easily accessible. Also, data brokers, TransUnion and a few others, it's quite a few out there. But what they are is it's an individual company that specializes in collecting personal data or data about companies, mostly from public records, and selling or licensing such information to third parties. So say if I want to target seniors that's over, say, 65 with a net worth of, say, $500,000, there's companies that I can contact that I can put specific criteria in. They will do the research and send me the results. A lot of companies that want to target you for specific items that they may be selling, or that you may be interested in. That's how they get your information. Unfortunately, these companies really don't vet that well. So, and a private citizen can go on and potentially get this information. You just have to pay for it. So thieves or criminals will do this. They'll contact these data brokers and get a list of, the people that they're trying to target, unfortunately, and these companies will sell it to them. We'll talk a little bit about data breach. And basically a data breach is when sensitive, protected, or confidential data has been potentially viewed, stolen, or used by an individual unauthorized to do so. So some data breach facts. In 2021, recorded 1,862 data breaches. The Identity Theft Resource Center recorded 1,543 data breach incidents, and 150 million individuals had their information compromised. Half of all data breaches globally to occur in the United States by 2023. And 87% of data breaches expose Social Security numbers. The average data breach took 112 days to detect. So that means the thieves pretty much had, over 100 days to use the information or do whatever they want to do with that information before the victim realized that they've been compromised. And the information really started getting into the public domain with the Target data breach years and years ago, where they were compromised and they sent out this letter. And that's where it kind of became publicized that it was, these hacks and breaches were going on. Here's a couple breaches that happened over the past few years. One was the Colonial Pipeline. And unfortunately, they victim of a ransomware attack, and they were hacked through a compromised password through their VPN, through their virtual private network. If you remember, gas prices shot up because they had to shut down for about 6 days, and it caused fuel shortages and price increases throughout the US. This was an interesting one. 10 companies were compromised, including Pixlar and Meet Mindful. The stolen information was leaked for free, so it ended up on the dark web for anyone who wanted it. Again, names, payment methods, physical billing addresses, email addresses, and date of births were compromised, and about 124 million records were exposed in this data breach. T-Mobile, which I'm a member of and had my information compromised several years ago. But again, it was name, dates of birth, social security numbers, driver's license, ID information, everything related to your account. And it was about 40 million records that were compromised. So what happens to your information after it's compromised? So the web is kind of set up in 3 different levels. The surface web is like your general search engines or regular websites that you go to where you don't need a password or anything to access it. The deep web is where, say, your emails, where you need your log on and password information to access that site, those sites. And the dark web is what we call drug trafficking and other illegal activities. And unfortunately, once your information is compromised, a lot of times it's sold on the dark web. So basically, the dark web is a collection of multi websites that use anonymity tools like Tor and ITP to hide their IP addresses. So for law enforcement, it's really, really hard to track down because it's almost like they're totally hidden. So, you go in one direction and, you're blocked, and it's really, really hard. So that's why these, thieves and criminals go to this, because it's very rarely that arrests are made from these sites. What's sold on the web? Anything and everything. You can get guns, you can get drugs, hitmen, whatever, illegal items that you want. If you know how to get to the dark web and access it, then you can buy these things on there. So how much is your information worth? Stolen debit credit card, about $5 to $110, depending on the market. It fluctuates up and down. Prestige credit cards like your platinum, your black, or high verifiable balances, $20 to $400 per card. This is scary. Passports. You can get altered and fraudulent passports, $1,000 to $2,000. Online payment credentials, $20 to $200. A complete U.S. identity package is only $30. I thought it would be quite higher, but I guess we're only worth about $30. Again, personal medical records could be up from $1,000 to $1,000 depending on the information that's for sale. These are a couple examples of ads that were on the dark web. This is fake ID. Welcome to fake documents. We offer original high quality fake passports, driver's licenses, ID cards, anything you want fake ID related. On the right, same thing, US fake driver's licenses. We only sell the best quality. You won't find any better on the net. Here's some medical records that were listed on the dark web. On the left is psychiatric patient records with name, address, phone, employer, pretty much everything related to their visit. Completed detailed notes on everything discussed in the therapy sessions. On the top, it has from a psychiatric practice with not so great network security. All this information was on the dark web. To the right, when we talk about child's ID theft, here's some pediatricians who office was hacked, and all that personal information was available for sale. When we talk about tax ID theft, again, 2017 tax W-2 forms with adjusted gross income and date of birth. To the right of that, W-2 tax forms, 2016, $7.99 only. So again, all this stuff is easily accessible if you know how to get it. So some of the ways you discover ID theft is you receive calls from collection agencies, contact from your bank, new accounts or changes to your existing accounts that you didn't initiate. Also, denied a loan, you'll go apply for a loan, or they'll come back with the high interest rate at 21%. When you know you've never missed a payment, you really don't have a lot of credit cards, and then once you research it a little further, you'll realize that you've been compromised. Arrested for a criminal offense you didn't commit, and incorrect information on your credit report. So what do you do if it's stolen? The key is act immediately, and report it to police. It goes hand in hand. I know several years ago we really didn't take ID theft reports. Now it's mandatory that police departments take ID theft reports. Contact the creditors for accounts that have been tampered with or opened fraudulently. Notify the 3 credit bureaus and request a fraud alert be placed on your credit report. And make sure you keep detailed records. And you can also file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission. Just remember, it's not always random. Our information is out there, you know, from hospitals to doctors' offices to schools, to you name it. So, you know, citizens who work in those places have access to it. And we've had situations from doctors' offices to, you know, anywhere, you know, your credit cards are used where, you know, employees have unfortunately stolen information, used it, opened up fraudulent credit cards and, you know, victims' names. So we just know that your information is out there. One of the things you can do is just know your credit. Every person gets a free credit report from the 3 major credit bureaus per year. You can get that report from annualcreditreport.com. What I suggest is that you get your credit reports on a staggered basis. So every 4 months you can get one, say from Equifax, and then 4 months later from TransUnion. That way you're not getting them all at the same time. You can also freeze your credit file. So we're going to talk about a credit freeze and what that entails. So a credit freeze locks your account where no one can open up any new credit in your name, including you. So typically what happens, you'll contact the 3 credit bureaus and there's a form that you fill out and request that there's a credit freeze placed on your credit file. What they will do is place the credit freeze and then give you a 4-digit, typically a 4-digit PIN number that they'll send to you. So for instance, say you want to go buy a car. You go to CarMax, you want to use their financing, they want to run your credit, you have a credit freeze, so they actually can't run your credit. They can't see your credit score. You would check with CarMax and say, okay, which credit bureau do you use? We use TransUnion. So you would contact TransUnion, give them the 4-digit PIN to unlock your credit freeze or to lift your credit freeze. Then they would be able to see your credit score and get the information that they needed. Once that's done, you can place the credit freeze back on your credit file. This is one of the best ways to minimize these thieves from opening new accounts in your name. You can also, if you have grandkids or a newborn, you can also freeze their credit file. And we talked a little bit earlier about child ID theft. So my suggestion is early on within the first few months, you'll have the Social Security number, freeze their file. It's no reason for them to have an open credit file when they're 1, 2, 3 years old and really not gonna have any credit until they're probably 18. The good thing is if you're a Maryland resident, it's free to place the credit freeze on your account. And I think it's $5 to take off, but it's very, very minimal. So this is one of the best things that you can do to try to minimize being victimized. And unfortunately, you really don't hear about it a lot. And it's not if, but when. I remember I was doing identity theft presentation several years ago, and doing one of the videos, I checked my phone and there was an email from Capital One that someone had just used my credit card at the Walmart in Ellicott City. Obviously it wasn't me, and somehow I was victimized. Had no idea, how they got my information or how the how the card was created. Again, a lot of the credit card companies are getting a lot better in picking out fraudulent activity. So thank you. It was a pleasure to present this morning, and I will take any questions now. And also, this is my contact information if you need to get in contact with me about presenting.
Well, thanks very much, Andre. Obviously, a lot of great information and relevant information for all of us here that can be used. So please feel free to share this information with anybody that you know. Again, it can affect anybody. And like Andre just said, it's not a matter of if, but when. Andre, I did send you a few questions through the chat that you should be able to see. So please let me know that you see those. And if you haven't sent the question in, Andre, that you do have, now would be your time to go ahead and get that question in, please. And we'll make sure that Andre can answer that question for you.
Yeah, for some reason. Yeah, I don't see him.
Okay, not a problem. Would you like me to go ahead and read them off to you?
Sure.
Okay. So this is back from the very beginning of the presentation. What happens if one has the Facebook, Twitter, etc. IDs and passwords memorized in one's laptop?
So it all depends. I know there's certain apps that allow you to put your passwords and log on IDs, because I have probably 30 different ones. So they're really, really hard to remember each one. But just make sure it's a legitimate app that you can use. And matter of fact, I think Apple has an app also where you can store your ID and log on for different websites or different places that you need to access.
Okay. Next one, if you are a victim of credit card identity theft, should you also notify the IRS?
Probably not. I haven't heard of anyone contacting the IRS unless it's directly related to tax ID theft. So they'll probably refer you back to the Federal Trade Commission.
Next question, does the insurance company generate the accounting of disclosure report, or does the doctor's office?
The insurance companies.
Okay. Should parents of minors check credit bureaus periodically on behalf of their children? I think we've already covered that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would check initially to make sure there is no file, and then put the credit freeze on.
Yeah, that's a great takeaway from this. When we did our first webinar on this back earlier this year, that's one action item that I did take and was I'm glad I did. Thank you for that. Next question, if your information is identified as being on the dark web, as some identity monitoring sites will indicate, how do you get it off the dark web? Or is it just a matter of changing your user ID and password?
Once it's on the web, it's pretty much on there. I would consider changing passwords or IDs. Just any kind of financial transaction that you do, make sure you check it over. Like you go to the grocery store and make sure that the charges line up with what you actually purchase. Because it's really, really hard to monitor that. Once it's on there, and they know it's on there, but again, it's, they use all these anonymity sites where I can't reach out and say, okay, my information's on this website, how do I get it off? Because you really can't reach out there and get it. But yeah, the main thing is really monitor all your transactions, especially at gas stations if you use your credit card to purchase gas. Another thing you can look for is if you check your bank account statement and you see a purchase or a transaction for 3, 5 cents, 20 cents, $1, and you normally don't purchase something like that, they may have created a credit card and just ran it for something small just to make sure it's active. So most of us, it's only, 50 cents or $1. You don't even really think about it, but that's probably what's happening is they've created one and just doing basically a tester before they sell it.
Understood. Okay, looks like those are all of our questions for now. So thank you for being here today, Andre. Again, as always, a pleasure. As far as my follow-up to you, which I always try to provide, I'll make sure we get our video out so you can share this with your friends and family and review it again if you'd like, as well as the presentation slides again and Andre's contact information for you. And he's got a really great website for his center, so please make sure you check that out as well. As far as our webinar series, very busy here as we round out October. Tomorrow we have trustee selection and how to choose the right one for you with Stephen Elville. On Tuesday, answers to today's real estate questions with the Wendy Slaughter team. And that following day on Wednesday, Steve will be back with us discussing estate planning and elder law essentials. And then we have our wellness series, which has really grown in great popularity on Thursday. Know your why and purpose, fulfillment versus busyness. So looking forward to that one as well as always. So unless there are any other questions, we'll call this one a success. Let's see here. We do have one more question here. Let's see here. A few have come in here. Okay, so what help or services does your organization for seniors and families and individuals? What help or services does your organization provide for families and seniors and individuals? Thank you so much.
So a lot of times I'll get emails for specific incidents dealing with seniors, say if it's a fraud related, or I've had power of attorney questions. So I do consultations and they're free. And basically it's just sort of guiding you along on, you know, how to resolve some of those issues. And I've had a few where, you know, victims have reported situations to police, and unfortunately law enforcement really didn't take it seriously, or in some cases didn't even take a report. I had a senior that lost $40,000 in a scam, and one of the local, not Howard County, another police department didn't take a report and referred them to Consumer Affairs. So it's more or less guidance, you know, if you have specific situations. But yeah, that's kind of what I do, along with the trainings and all. But and that's free of charge. So
okay. Next question: is there anything else besides freezing your credits that we can do to prevent identity theft?
That's probably it, because unfortunately, like I said, in my situation, and I do this for a living, my information was compromised. So, you know, like I said, it's not if, but when, but the key is monitor, 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 you know, all your transactions, all your financial transactions. There are companies out there, credit monitoring. I don't make any recommendations, but you know, that's still good, and it's, you know, almost pennies on the dollar per month, but you can get that. But really the credit freeze is probably one of the best things you can do, because it locks them down from opening any new credit. But the flip side is, if they get access to your credit card, they could create a whole new credit card.
Right. Yeah, and I would just, you know, say just be very vigilant and aware of your surroundings at all time. Looking at those videos about the, you know, people getting their purses swiped at the restaurants and at the gas stations, that's just so eye-opening and unfortunate. You know, just always have to be aware, and again, monitor, like Andre said. And last question, have a lot of thank yous here for a great presentation here. It says some sites that require a password allow you to have the site remember the password, and I'll say as well the login. Do you recommend doing that?
It's honestly a personal choice for me. I have some of my sites that do that. Matter of fact, like my website, when I'm the administrator and I go in, typically my financial related sites, I have to go in and actually put the information in there. So it kind of depends on the person. I have, Mac products and Apple products, and I've been, really happy with the security with those systems. I haven't really had any issues with that. But again, it's sort of a personal choice.
Okay. Okay, and one more here. Would you suggest not leaving credit cards on file for shopping sites like Amazon, etc.?
So for me, I have one for Amazon, and my credit limit's about 300. So I typically use one credit card for those types of transactions. I don't see a problem with it. Most of them are secure, but as we know, some companies, can get hacked. Typically, most of the hacking will come from companies that's like T-Mobile, for instance, is storing all your information in one central location. But yeah, it's a personal decision. Like I said, I do it, but I have my credit card with a very low limit. At times I have to, if I'm making a larger purchase, I may use another one, but I just monitor every transaction.
Okay, well, thank you again, Andre. Great presentation, lots of great information, and thanks to you all for being on our presentation today and for being part of the Elva webinar series. And we look forward to seeing you again real soon. Have a great day.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.